Thank you for joining me for 3 minutes. Please have a look at my other videos. Consider passing them on to a friend. You might like to subscribe. Proverbs 19 verse 21. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Today's verse is from the book of Proverbs, a book of wisdom literature in the middle of the Bible. It really is ancient wisdom, but worthy of note for today's world. If you've watched my introduction to Proverbs, and I'll put a link in the description below, then you will have heard Proverbs described by me there as memorable phrases for godly living. This is a book of bite-sized pieces of wisdom to help us live in today's world in a way that's godly. So let's consider today's verse and take it with us at this time in our lives. Many are the plans in a person's heart. I'm sure that rings true for you, and you might well know others who have all sorts of plans. Let's include all the plans that we have, from the small things about what our attitude to work is today, through to the big holiday plans or retirement plans that we might have. From the people we want to spend time with today, right through to the person we want to spend the rest of our lives with. We're all making plans on many different levels all of the time. It makes sense to make plans. There's some saying about failing to plan is the same as planning to fail. That highlights the real positive side of making plans for preparedness and so for success. But of course, for those who've put themselves under the King of Heaven as their ruler, then we are not in charge of our lives. We've recognized that quite often our plans fail, and that our human plans don't often lead to the positive conclusions that we'd hoped for. And we have decided that we're far better off letting God run our lives. We try to follow his plans for human living. And ultimately, because God is sovereign over all, it's only going to be his will that pervades. And so the proverb concludes that it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. That is comforting. When the plans of others are evil and destructive, we are comforted because ultimately the Lord's purposes prevail. But the wisdom of biblical Proverbs is not saying that in all situations God's will is done. Certainly not. Whilst God has the final say on everything and the ultimate conclusion to history, our own personal history and to that of the universe, the time that we are living in right now, before the return of Christ, when he brings this triumphant conclusion, well, this is now a time of the devil and of evil. So this little bite of wisdom gives me hope that God will triumph in the end, and that whilst I wait for that triumph, that I'm going to put my life further into his hands. I'm going to pray that his plans become my plans, that his will becomes my will, that his will be done here in my life on earth as it is in heaven.